Hello, everybody. So welcome to UMass's Rock Your Profile section. Appreciate you all taking the time out today. I'm very excited. A little bit about what we can expect here today. So to kick things off, I'll take about 30 seconds and be as brief as possible to introduce myself. And then we'll go into the basics because everyone on this call is going to be coming from different areas. Some people I've spoken with are just creating their profiles today. Others have a bit more experience. So I'm going to go over the basics and explain why they're so important. Then I'll transition to some tips and tricks of some maybe out of the box thinking, some things that you might not have thought about and just ways to kind of elevate your profile, give you a little advantage for recruiters or yourself in the job market. Then I'll go over some strategy, leverage, and resources that I would be doing if I were a student, or that I'd recommend to anyone who is looking to make the best use of their time. Maybe internships fell through, and just find ways to leverage your skills and abilities to make up for this, weird time we're in right now. And in the end, we got the Q&A. So I'll answer a few commonly asked questions, and then also Tiffany will be helping me in the chat here, and the Google form I will be answering as well. Just want to double check. Can everyone see the screen okay? Is my audio okay? Everything coming through?
Yes.
Perfect. Appreciate that. All right, let's get into it. So a little bit about the guy you hear on your screens. My name is Craig Berry. I'm from the Boston area and now live in Chicago. I attended UMass from 2014 to, wow, that's wrong, 2018. You can tell I was a little tired making this. Was originally political science and then graduated and switched to managerial economics. I've been at LinkedIn a little over a year and a half now, maybe almost 2 years, and I'm currently an account executive there. I came in through their entry-level business leadership program and have been there ever since. So more importantly, why am I hosting this? So I reached out to Tiffany Appleton in your career center. Thank you, Tiffany, by the way, for putting this on and helping it. And I know right now, in general, when you're graduating college, it's stressful. You have finals, you're being pushed into the workforce. You might not have a job. You might not even know what you want to do yet. Everyone's talking about how they're getting their offers, and you're competing with every other graduating student in the country. So it's stressful enough. And then now you mix in everything going on with Corona, it throws a wrench in a lot of people's plans. So having been there, minus the pandemic myself, I just wanted to reach out and share a little bit about what I learned along my own journey, the tips and tricks I've learned through LinkedIn. I've recruited at and for LinkedIn, so I got a little glimpse on the inside of how recruiters operate and kind of how they think. And I just wanted to share everything I've picked up for what it's worth, in hopes that, maybe it can add some certainty, maybe it can give someone a little leg up just to get one step closer to where they want to be. So that's what today's all about. And obviously I work at LinkedIn, so I'm not just, tooting our own horn, but it is really important to have a good LinkedIn. Over 95% of Fortune 500 companies use Recruiter or LinkedIn for recruiting. And I think the stat is over 90% in general of recruiters use it. There's another stat that says something like over 60% of hiring managers will check out your profile before giving you a call. And as you can see here, the millions of users, tens of thousands of companies, it really is the place where you put yourself forward. Just in the same where most people have a Facebook, if you're a professional, you probably have a LinkedIn. It's where business is transitioning to. It's where people are looking first. And, it's almost like when you go on a website, some of them look like they were made on Windows 98, and some of them are super interactive. And you do, unfortunately, judge the company or the person behind that website based on how it looks. So to help everyone make a great first impression and show them why UMass is so awesome at producing great students, I wanted to throw this together a little bit. So starting off the basics with the most basics of basics, which I'm sure all of you could have guessed, adding a photo. It's important. You actually get 9 times more connection requests, 20 plus times more views. So when it comes to a photo, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. The big thing is good lighting. You don't want other people in it. You don't want your dogs or cats in it. You want it to be pretty much at eye level and high quality. So you could get a white background with your phone and just do it like that. But also feel free to make it express yourself. Some people like to stand out and go black and white to seem sophisticated. Some people who are very exuberant have brightly colored glasses and a fun background color. Whatever it is, whatever statement and first impression you want to make to convey your personality, capture that in a professional way through your photo, because it is the cover to your book. It's the first thing people are going to see. And just like, your normal personality, you want to be able to convey who you are. Industry. So I know a lot of us are students. My recommendation would be think about what industry you would want others to associate you with. So for instance, myself at LinkedIn, that could be considered an internet company, a technology company, I suppose an HR company to some degree, even a sales company. There's so many things that we could technically fall under. It's up to me to decide, what do I want to identify myself as? So I think at the end of the day, I believe I have it as an internet company because I'm more interested in that side of things and how people are using the social aspect of the platform to leverage their careers. So that's what I identify as. There's no wrong answer. When recruiters are doing searches, often they do narrow down by industry. So think about where you would almost like to work. So if you want to be a tech person, but maybe you want to be a healthcare technician, or you want to develop healthcare applications, maybe your industry would then be healthcare over IT. There's really no answer. Just consider how you want to be identified in the market. Now, when it comes to the summary, this is admittedly the thing I didn't even have done until about half a year into working at LinkedIn. I put it off forever because I didn't know what to write and I didn't know how to write it, and I just didn't want to do it. I just put it off forever. So a few key things here is this is really a place for you to sell yourself, not summarize. So you're not looking just to regurgitate what's in your profile or even regurgitate what's on your resume. It's a little blurb about who's the person behind this all. You want to showcase your personality, any unique talents, kind of share a little bit about what you're up to, and more importantly, what you aspire to do. How does what you're doing now relate to where you're going? It doesn't have to be crazy long. It could be as short as 3 to 5 sentences, or it could be 3 mini paragraphs. My advice to you would be, don't be verbose. Write just enough as you need to convey everything here. And whether that's 5 sentences or whether that's 10 sentences, that's okay. Just make sure it cuts straight to the chase and is very effective, because people will kind of spend a short amount of time glancing over your profile. And this, if they do spend time, will be the area they spend a little bit more time. So put the effort in. I know it's kind of annoying to deal with and try to face, but definitely get it done. And not only having good words down, but having a more complete profile makes a big difference. Kind of like I said on the website example. The more built out a website is, the more robust it looks, the better, versus just a one landing page summary of an old website that hasn't been touched since Craigslist was invented. So make it look nice, and you want to fill out all of the components. Now, work experience. So this one, as obvious as it is to put your experience, a lot of people have questions around, well, how do I write it? Do I write a paragraph? Do I do bullet points? A lot of people are wondering, maybe if I did a hackathon or if I was a part of a competition, does that count as work experience? My question is this, or my answer would be this. If you gained experience, if it was, ran an organization, a competition, put it down. It shows what you're working on. And more importantly, it shows what you got out of it. That's just as valuable if you did it in an internship, or whether you did it on your own, or whether you did it at an event or a private event. So I would say go for it. On my personal profile, I have some competitions I did while I was a student that reflected my professional development. So keep it professional, but definitely add it in. It's obviously so important. You get 8 times as many more profile views, 10 times more messages, and it shows more about your intention and kind of the professional you are. So there's a lot of, back and forth of, do we bullet point what we do? Do we just write a paragraph? The general consensus is leave the bullet points for your resume and put a very short 2 to 5, 3 to 5 sentences about your experience on your LinkedIn. Me personally, I kind of wanted to do both just because I never know who's going to look at my profile. Maybe I don't have my resume on there. Maybe I didn't apply for this job. So if someone's going to come here, I want it to be kind of a one-stop shop. And more importantly, when someone's doing keyword searches, I wanted to make sure everything that is on my resume would also pop up. So personally, what I did is I put a 3 to 5 sentence blurb at the top. That way it's the first thing you see when you're on my profile. And then if people want to expand and see more, beneath there is my bullet points. Now, whether you do both, whether you do the paragraph or whether you do bullet points, it's important to focus on your responsibilities, what you accomplish or achieve, the metrics you achieved. So, any way in life on resumes or LinkedIn, if you can put numbers, do it. Saying I, exceeded my quota sounds good, but saying I hit 300% sounds a lot better, for instance. And finally, talk about the experience gained. What did you come out of there with? And that is going to be the important part. Examples of your work. So this is totally underutilized, and I highly, highly push people to do it, is put examples of your work. It could be a photo, anything. At a minimum, it makes your profile look much more built out and visually aesthetic. And at maximum, it shows like what you actually did. So in college, if you're proud of a paper, put it on there. If you run some, if you wrote a thesis, if you're a creator in your free time, if you've taken courses in your free time, whatever it is that you've created to support your work and your professional brand, throw it up there. It can't hurt. It adds another dimension to yourself and your profile, and it will definitely allow you to stand out. And volunteer experience. So this is one people kind of often worry about when they get to this section of their profile. And they're always asking like, well, Craig, what if I don't volunteer? That's okay. If you don't have any, don't lie, don't stretch. It's okay. But if you do have it, show it. Right now, a lot of companies are very interested in who the people are that they're hiring. The dynamics completely changed. And it's not just about, can this person do the job well, but are they a good representation of our company? And would I like to work with them? So this is another area where if you have it, throw it on there. It shows an extra dimension to yourself, what you might be interested outside of work, and what you're up to in your free time. So add it. Same thing as your experience, little paragraph, maybe a few bullet points, and keep it short and sweet. So I'm about to go into the tips and tricks portion of things. So this is kind of where I begin to say some things I picked up on and a mix of what I would do if I were in your shoes now. So we are ending the basics and kind of going into more how to leverage your profile and how to get more out of it. So the first things first, whenever you're searching for a new job, there's this really cool feature called Open to New Opportunities. So on your LinkedIn, you can actually turn this on. And what it does is it secretly signals to recruiters that you're considering, a career change. If you're in a current company, maybe now or a few years down the line, like for myself, for instance, let's say, I decide I want to move to California. So I want to see what's out there. I can turn this button on and you can set the regions you want to move to, the job titles, what you're looking for, and kind of say pretty much, hey, if this is something you're hiring for, let me know. This does two cool things. First off, when a recruiter does a search, people who have this tab opened and who match what they're looking for get prioritized and put in their own special category. And you are much, much, much more likely to get an in-mail or get reached out to if you've signaled this. The other cool thing which allows you not to worry is, like I said, in my case, let's say today I wanted to move, but I didn't want my boss or even the company knowing that I'm interested in kind of seeing what's out there. So if you turn this on, people from your organization that you identify with on LinkedIn won't be able to see you. So if a LinkedIn recruiter did a search that matched what I'm looking for in California, I wouldn't pop up in that category. So it hides you from any uncomfortable conversations or things like that in your own internal company if you're simply just putting feelers out there. So wherever you're at in your job search, this is an absolute must to have open. The next thing, which is often overlooked but makes your profile a lot better, is a custom profile link. So when you go to your LinkedIn, if you look at the top, it's probably linkedin.com/ and a bunch of gibberish. You can actually customize that. So mine is / Craig Berry. Ideally, you want to get it to as close as your full name as possible. I wouldn't want it to be Craig Berry 781234567. It's just too much. Obviously, there's a lot of people with similar names, so you're not going to get everything you hope for, but try to make it as just plain and normal as possible. That way it's easy to remember and people can think about it. Lastly, taking advantage of your cover photo. So this is something that's really developed kind of recently as a branding tool. It kind of just shares a little more about what you're about, and you can use it in many different ways. So for me, I just wanted something, I was new to Chicago. I love the city. I actually lived across from this theater for a few months, and I just wanted to embrace the Chicago me now in my new professional career. So I put the Chicago sign, but other people are increasingly using it as almost like a billboard for their brand. And I encourage you to do whatever feels natural. So I got an example below mine of someone who is a good speaker. And so she has all of her social media on there, the magazine she's been in, a funny little word bubble there. So really imagine it as your own personal billboard. So once someone comes to your page, what impression, what do you want to market or say to them once they're on your page. So I would highly recommend utilizing that. It goes a long way and makes your page look that much more robust. Another thing is header, and people are always so confused about this. You know, am I going to write that I'm a driven marketing major? Am I going to write that I'm open to opportunities? What do I write? There's no wrong answer. It really comes down to what is the 5 words you want people to first associate with you. So this can come in a few different ways. So you can be creative, you know, maybe like if you're a silly person, you want to be creative, or you're in a creative field, be creative. So, you know, if you're clean energy venture capitalist, making clean money, well, that's kind of funny. Or an AI developer, teaching computers to think, something simple. Or if you're more straightforward, maybe your business is more straightforward, be straightforward. Tax and audit at Deloitte. You know, small business consultant, helping small businesses turn big profits. Like, what is that one sentence or one phrase that can kind of convey what you do, and maybe even build a little curiosity so that people do click into your profile more. Some people use it for credibility. Forbes 30 under 30, something like that, that draws attention. So definitely use it, and use it to your advantage of what you want to get out of it, and what are the 5 words you want to put in someone's mind if you only have 5 or so words to do so. The next part is skills, and this one is super important for everybody, especially college students, and it's often overlooked. So one thing I learned at LinkedIn is, as you may or may not know, you can endorse people for different skills. So if you are really good at, let's say, Java coding, your peers, your coworkers, they can endorse you for Java, and it might pop to the top and say, you know, 1 million people have endorsed you for this skill. But when a recruiter does a search, the depth and number of endorsements behind a skill is not weighted. So you listing Java is just as powerful as you being endorsed by 100 people. So having it on there is what's most important. So that's why I encourage everybody to max out the 50 skills you're allowed with things that are real. But think of everything that could apply, because right now the world of recruiting is done through automation, AI, computers, and keyword searches. So you want to stack your profile in your summary, in your experience, and especially in your skills with the skills and attributes that correlate with the industry you're going into, the job you want to have, everything. And the cool thing too is jobs that are posted on LinkedIn, if they're made through LinkedIn, often they will have LinkedIn skills associated with that job, and it will tell you which you don't have. So that way, you know, maybe you wrote management and you forgot to write project management as your skill just because they're so closely associated. And this one job you really want has project management listed as a skill. Cool, go in, add project management. Now you check more boxes automatically when they review your application. So use skills to your advantage. You get 17 times more profile views. And remember, it's about the quantity, not necessarily the depth, but I encourage you, don't lie. If you can't do something, don't do it, just because that's not honest or ethical. And then another thing right now, and this is more of advice, this is not something I may have done then, and it depends entirely on what you do. And creating content is easier for some majors or some industries than others, but it's worth noting that right now, LinkedIn's attention is incredibly undervalued. So if you have 100,000 followers on Instagram or 100,000 followers on Friends, and you make a post, it might get 5,000 likes or 50,000 views. It's a fraction of who actually can see it. Or on LinkedIn, it's the opposite. You could have 500 connections, 1,000 connections, and get 1 million views. The algorithm is insane. So using that to your advantage, whether it's with your prospective company, with your industry, putting out content, creating content, interviewing people, hosting a podcast, displaying artwork, sharing ideas, engaging in thought leadership, whatever you can do. And especially if you've already reached out to people in your prospective company and friended them, you're going to become a part of their circle. You're going to be on their page. They're going to remember your name associated with all these things. And now when they see your application come across, you're not just another name. You're someone who's been standing out for months and months and months. And again, you've just built that brand. So building social proof, extending yourself beyond your resume or your profile can only be in your benefit. And if you can't do that, if you're not comfortable with that, that's totally okay. But it is a great avenue to take advantage of if that is something you like. And another must thing is, if you are applying to a company, definitely follow it. You can actually, when recruiters are doing searches, there's a separate tab for people who show up, and you are also following the company. So it just shows that you're actually interested, and it's super easy to do. So before you think about applying to a company or engaging with it, follow it, maybe comment on a lot of people's stuff. So if the CEO is always doing stuff, or even if the person running the program you're going into is very active, comment on their stuff. They're going to be seeing your name for weeks before they start opening applications. Start building that relationship long in advance, and it will benefit you tremendously. A little more about leveraging resources. So I'm getting a lot of questions right now about my internship fell through, what do I do right now? Right now, as terrible as it might be for some, it's actually a good opportunity to stand out for those who are willing to do more. What do I mean by that? So right now, let's say I'm a marketer, and my marketing internship fell through, and I don't know what to do right now, and now the experience I was going to get and be able to list is gone. Well, what shows more initiative than doing it on your own? So right now, everyone's working and learning from home. Tons of places offer free learning courses. LinkedIn has their own learning platform. We acquired a company called lynda.com called LinkedIn Learning now. If you have premium, you get it for free, and I think you might even get a trial if you're a student. It has everything on there, from video editing to coding languages to yodeling, everything, and you get certificates. So it's a much more powerful story, I think, in my opinion, to say, instead of I had an internship, here's what everyone got out of this internship, to say, in my free time, I actually went ahead and learned these 5 skills. I created this marketing campaign for a fake company. I did all this stuff, and I actually studied your company, and here's like a fun marketing deck I made for it just for fun. Here you go. That's so much more valuable. Doing the work before you have the job is always more valuable. So right now, you can really set yourself apart from all the people who are just sitting back and enjoying this time or not really doing anything and saying, no, I really care about this. I really care about this industry. I really care about your company. And here's everything I did on my own just to better myself. And when compared to everybody else that may not have done anything after all this, it's going to be night and day. So my biggest thing is leverage self-learning, leverage the engagement, and build when others are standing still. Another thing which was huge for me, and if you're not doing it, you're missing out, is reach out to alumni. Or anyone really, but especially alumni. Alumni love helping their own schools. So when I was a senior, I was getting into sales, but I didn't know what industry, what type of sale, what type of company. I didn't know. And every company claims to be great, so I just wanted to learn. So every week I would go through the alumni. I'd find people at companies like Goldman Sachs, Google, everything. And I'd message them, say, hey, my name's Craig. I'm a rising junior, rising senior at UMass. Interested in pursuing a career in sales, and notice you've done the same. Just like, I'd love to learn a little bit about your journey and what you've learned along the way and what it's like working at said company. Like, do you have 15 minutes for a call? Like, would really appreciate it. And so many people are willing to do that. It helps you understand what the company is like on the inside, how this person navigated their career, and any advice they've given to you. Maybe understand, or even better, maybe really hit it off with this person and they invite you to, hey, if you ever need anything, give me a call. Or you ever need anything, send me your resume. And you just never know where it goes. At a minimum, you become more educated on what you might want to do. And best case, you actually build a connection that helps you get the foot in the door. And referrals always help. I will post the caveat that you must do this the right way. If you just message someone and say, hey, I noticed you're at LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn. Can you help me? Or, hey, I noticed you're at LinkedIn. Can you just give my resume? If it's all about me, take, you're never going to get a response. You have to be genuine. You have to actually be interested in learning from this person and being a respective audience. So give it about them. I'm curious about you. I want to learn about your journey. I feel like I could get a lot. Would you mind? People are more receptive to that. Just be genuine. Be considerate that you're asking for their time, and be a good audience. Don't just ask them for a favor because you don't know them yet. So be kind when reaching out. And now we're going to be transitioning into the FAQs and other questions. So I know it's been mostly a voice coming out of the screen, so I'm interested in opening up some dialogue after this a little bit. So some of these I already rambled into. Bullet points, we already went over that. An interesting one is, should I write my profile in the first or third person? First person all the way. Everyone knows you're the one writing it. It makes it weird if you're writing in the third person. You're writing it, be you. And then back to the professional headshot. Nope, no need to hire someone. Just, make it look good. So that's those for now. So thank you all. Thank you, Tiffany and the Career Center. Best of luck to everybody in here. I know it's stressful. I know it's uncertain, but just know you are in a much better position than you might think. And just know there are endless alumni that are out there willing to help and wanting to help you. You just got to reach out. So thank you. I'm going to now turn to the chat. Tiffany, do we have any questions that people might have been asking?
So far, no. It
Okay.
seems you did a really, really, really good job, which I would say you did, coming from using LinkedIn every day for the last 15 years. You did a good job. So I'm not sure. I'm looking, there's some stuff coming in, but most of it's thank you. And you did a great job and awesome advice. So
thank you. Thank you very much. So I guess if we don't have any in the chat, and Tiffany, if you wouldn't mind monitoring it as I
yep, I'll keep watching that.
I do have some people, and thank you to everyone who submitted them. If I don't get your if I don't get your question answered, or if it isn't good enough, just message me on LinkedIn, and I can give you a call and we can go more in depth to it. Just out of respect for everybody, if it is a little personal or a little detailed, I don't want to spend too much time on something that doesn't apply to everybody. So the first question I got is how to stand out in a crazy job market. We touched upon this a bit, but again, in order to stand out, you have to be different. You know, if there's a sea of white dots, you have to be that green dot. And you need to be doing what people aren't doing. And that, again, could be creating your own content, self-learning, reaching out to people. And the easiest thing is people love to share and people love what they do. Maybe you do a college interview week, and every week you interview a professional from the industry and just post it on LinkedIn. 20-minute phone call, clip the video, throw it up there. Other students like it, people like it. You're just doing something different. So when people check you out, there's so much more depth to you. You allow them to see so much more value about yourself. So reach out to people, create content where you feel comfortable, and self-learning would be my 3 biggest tips right now. The next question is a really cool one. How should the profiles differ from an undergraduate student, master's, or PhD? So how you should approach this shouldn't change. You really should be doing everything we talked about today, no matter if you're 79 years old or 19 years old. What I would expect to be a difference is that media. So as a master's student and as a PhD student, I can only imagine you're spending a lot of time on theses or projects, things like that. Share it. That's part of what you got out of it. So don't only list what you're doing, show them. And the more, the more built out you have, the more examples of your work, the better. So the differences shouldn't be there, but what I would expect is as you go through more academic levels, you should have a little bit more to show for it. And thank you for asking this. Next question, how long does someone spend on your profile and what are they mainly focused on? Answer is not long. Not long at all. They're doing a quick scroll up, scroll down, scroll down, scroll up. The reason being is how they usually find you. So for those who don't know, LinkedIn has a product called Recruiter. And what it does is it turns the entire network, everybody, into a searchable database, so to speak. So what recruiters do, who have this, and many of them do, is they just kind of put in the person they're looking for. So if they're a campus recruiter, it might be, I want marketing majors from these universities graduating in this year with these skills on their profiles, blah, 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 search, and you pop up. So being on that list is kind of saying these people have at least what you're looking for. Check them out. So if they like your header, if they like, and what they do is you actually get a preview of the first few lines. So if they like, then they go into it. And really, that's why the first impression matters, is when they click you open. First off, if you don't have a profile picture, if you're gray, you're not getting considered statistically. So they look at you, and let's say you have this great banner and you have a summary and it's all built out and it's nice. That first impression is this person's legitimate, they're a professional, they care about their image. And wow, look at all this media, they have value. That first impression, they'll probably then be like, let me read a little bit into this now that they look very impressive. And they'll probably skim a few things just to look, make sure you have those keywords or make sure you have enough for them to pass you on, and they'll add you to a project folder. So it's a quick skim. That's why, unfortunately, visually and how well it's set up does matter a lot. There's a bar on your LinkedIn profile saying how well it's built out. Try to max that out. And really, that's what I'm saying. Keep things short and sweet, convey value, and just make a good first impression, because they will not be spending too long on it at first. As you go through interviews, they will spend more time vetting you and they'll take more time reading it. But to get you in that door at first, it might be very quick.
I do have some here too when you're ready. So just let me know.
Yeah, let's do it. Throw them at me.
Where do you suggest we put seeking summer internship? Should it be in the header or in the summary?
Good question. You could do header. I think that's fine, and that's very common. I would go header. I think header is going to, when people see your profile, they do see that. So wherever you come up in a batch, it will let them know that you're looking right away. Maybe they didn't find you. Maybe you're creating content and they just like your style, so they click on your profile and see you're open. They're gonna message you. So I'd say put it on the header. It's whenever you view a profile, the minimum you see is photo, name, and header. So it will help make a better first impression.
How important are reviews from people? And I would imagine that means recommendations. And I have an opinion on that if you're interested.
I'd love to hear it. What do you think?
So I worked for 15 years as a recruiter before I joined UMass a few months ago. So this is coming from a recruiter standpoint.
Yes.
If I liked your profile already, I'm going to read down to the reviews, the recommendations, because I want to hear what other people have to say about you, because it humanizes you. It gives me insight into your soft skills, the type of person you are, and gives me some good ideas if you would be a good cultural fit. So that is the piece that I think it adds. I'd be curious if that helps anything with like searching or things like that.
Yeah. It doesn't come up in searches. Perhaps if someone does a keyword search and someone mentions it, but if someone's mentioning something in your review, odds are you probably have in the profile. But I agree. People, and you nailed it. People attest to it. It's can this person do the job? Are they going to add to the company? And are they going to kind of fit in with our culture? And nothing is better than a third party review. So I always check it out, and it says a lot. So it doesn't have to be crazy. You can just give a little, hey, she was so nice to work with, really team player. Cool. It humanizes you. And Tiffany, I'd love your feedback. Anything that I've advised so far that either you agree and +1 to, or maybe even you disagree with, or maybe something I haven't said so far that as a recruiter you'd love to chime in.
Well, I disagree with nothing. So that I could easily say. The
Perfect.
number one thing that I think you said that I would love to reiterate is using examples of your work. That relatively newish feature that LinkedIn has added, where you can have featured stuff show on your profile, or you can add them to a job or an education section. Having some sort of media or link, something that makes a picture show there is huge, because people like pictures better than words. So that would be the piece that I wanted to hit the thumbs up button when you were talking about it, but I couldn't find it quick enough.
Well, perfect. Thank you for that. No, I totally agree. We're visual people. Humans are visual creatures. Make it look nice, and it shows a lot more.
Yep.
I see the chat here now. I'm gonna jump to this one real quick too.
Okay.
Matthew's asking how I got started at LinkedIn and how long did it take me to get that job. So relationships and alumni matter. At LinkedIn, the saying is relationships matter, and even being here 2 years, it matters a ton. Make relationships. So the roundabout story is how I got into LinkedIn. I met someone freshman year who was a senior. Years later, I had been doing some sales internships, and he noticed. He reached out when I was a junior and just said, hey, LinkedIn has a sales internship. I think you'd be a good fit. I replied saying, what does LinkedIn even sell? It's just a Facebook for business. What are you talking about? And I learned all the stuff that most people don't know about what we sell and all that. So I became hooked. I love the company. I applied, and I got shot down really hard. I didn't even make it to the second round interview, and I was totally crushed. I remember the exact night I was in my living room, because I was so excited, and because I truly felt like 100% in my bones that it was a good fit. It's what I wanted to do. It's the company I wanted, and the description was exactly the person I thought I was or wanted to be. But I got denied, which is cool. It's important to note that it's not an exact science. Tiffany, I'm sure recruiters are human, companies are human. Just because you didn't get a role doesn't mean you weren't good enough. Quite literally, it could be that they were looking for something very specific, or whatever it is. So don't take it personally. I know it's like, yeah, Craig, I get it, but like seriously, it doesn't mean anything. I work with a ton of people who interviewed 3, 4, 5 times at LinkedIn, and then they got it. It works out. So in my case, I got shot down and kind of reflected and realized why. I asked the recruiter for feedback, and I realized that I just didn't prepare myself right. I honestly came in too hot and heavy, and I wasn't a good fit, and I realized that. So over the next year, I just kind of kept reaching out. I kept learning. I updated my profile. I kept speaking to different people in the LinkedIn company to get more familiar with their verbiage, what they like, and make connections. And then the next year came around, and LinkedIn has an entry-level program into the sales. It's like a 6-month rotational, and then you go into sales. called the Business Leadership Program. And I applied for that the following year, and I was ready. And in my interviews, I knew the company so well. I knew their mission, I knew their vision, I knew their product lines, I knew what was active, and I was just able to come at it in a different perspective. I was able to much better convey my stories because I had so long to articulate them and share why I'm unique, and to say really why I'm so passionate about joining, and why this isn't just an interview to me, this is what I want to do. And I think that through the revision, through doing my research and due diligence, thankfully, I got passed on it, and that's kind of how I got in. So no doesn't mean no. Talk to people in the company, learn who the company is, and match it with who you are and what you're looking to do, and that will resonate more. How important are reviews? There that is. Thank you. Let's see some more here.
Would you recommend deleting older information, like high school experience?
Yeah, that's true. I still have my
I
college.
love this question.
Yeah. You should, for graduating college, keep it. They recommend that once you're in the workforce, you remove definitely high school stuff and even internships. As you can tell by my profile, I'm still kind of hanging on because I don't feel that far out of college yet, and I still feel closely tied. But I think once I start my new role next month, I'm gonna have to cut it and just go strictly adult stuff. So keep it on there as long as it's relevant. And again, like, you know, if you did something that really does support your cause, keep it on there, but make it relevant. Just adding experience to add it doesn't do you any good. But if it tells something about you, it's fine. And a lot of people are saying, well, I only worked as a waiter or waitress. That's fine. Put a little blurb. Paid for my tuition by waiting tables 50 hours a week. Okay, that just shows you're a hustler. That shows you're responsible. That's a big plus. Like, it's not necessarily about what you do, but why you did it and how you're conveying it. So put it on there if it's relevant, take it off if it's not, and try to make it as succinct as possible. And there's some questions about LinkedIn Learning. So LinkedIn Learning is almost like a Khan Academy learning platform where it has courses and videos on anything. Like I said before, Photoshop, computer coding, yodeling, seriously, everything. And what it does is you go through and learn, and you can ask questions and you can engage with it, just like an online module. And then when you complete it, you get a certificate. It gets added to your profile automatically, and that comes up in searches. That embellishes your brand, and that shows, again, all these extra ways that on your own you're trying to better yourself, and it just makes it that much more impressive. Let's see. What about managing this and that? Tips for cold messaging. So I had said this a little bit before, got to make it about them. Be humble, be a student. Like, as you are in such a great position as a student because you're learning. If I reached out to someone and say, hey, I want to learn, even though I might be coming from a great place, they might be like, that's kind of, what is he? What is he trying to get out of me? What's he trying to do? Like, what is this? But if you're just like, hey, I'm learning right now. I'm about to graduate. I'm super interested in advertising. I noticed you're an alumni and working in New York. That's my dream city. Like, tell me about your life. People are going to be like, hell yeah. Like, that's like, I'd love to tell you about my life. People love that. People love the energy students have, the drive students have. So leverage that. Be a curious and excited student. Reach out about them. Be curious about their life, and be considerate of their time, and look to give instead of just take away from them. And you'll be surprised with how many people are excited to talk to you. And that kind of applies for someone who asked, how would you talk to a second connection? Same thing. Make it about them. Be curious, be a humble learner, be interested, and be a good learner. So those are there. And I guess switching over to the form now. What job titles? People are asking, what job titles should I be looking for entry-level roles? If you're curious what you're looking for, when you go into the jobs tab and you're viewing posted jobs, you can filter for entry-level roles. So sometimes you might want to work backwards. And I always recommend this for people, and I might be answering other questions in advance, but right now a lot of people are saying, where do I go? So I was advised to work big and zoom small. So typically that would start by industry, and people might say, well, what industry is going to do well? If you're in advertising, maybe newspaper advertising industries isn't where you want to go. Maybe it's social media advertising just by trends. Something to consider with the current pandemic is what companies and industries are either going to be in the home and do well because people are going to be inside, or digital, or can function in an environment where people might not be able to move around. So for instance, if you want to do advertising and you don't really care where you go, maybe advertising for a digital tool is going to be a better avenue than Hilton hotels right now. So work big and find the avenue that you think is going to be moving, but more importantly, the industry. What industries are doing well? Blockbuster or Netflix? Go that direction. Then go, what companies inside this industry do I resonate with? And that's where you do your homework. Maybe you get 5 and everyone claims they're the best. Read the Glassdoor reviews, message people and see, hey, like, is it as good as it say it is? Like, maybe you're someone who's like, I love volunteering. Like, that's my passion. What volunteer stuff do you guys do at work? Maybe one company says nothing. We just show up and go home. Other companies like, oh, once a month, we have a whole day for it. And then you're able to find, the company that resonates with you and then kind of work your way down from there. So work high, go low, and just start having conversations. Everybody's at home right now. Everybody's doing nothing. Everyone has their LinkedIn in front of them. Just start messaging people. It's really a good time for that. Tips for interviews. I'd highly encourage you to check out LinkedIn's tool or the guide I put together for all the details. But most importantly, I'd say be yourself and bring your personality. That's, as Tiffany said, culture is huge now. If you got the interview, that means your resume got you in the door. So it's almost like you hit the basics. So now your job is to explain what's behind all that, where you're going, what you think, who you are, and just convey that you'd be a good fit. So I'd say be yourself, do your homework on the company, find deeper reasons. And this is important, find deeper reasons for that company. So if someone says, why do you want to work at LinkedIn? Oh, they got cool perks and free food and, it's a good brand. Cool. And I love the free food more than anybody else at this company, but doesn't really mean much for a recruiter. But if you're saying like, I'm someone who has been given amazing opportunities in my life and I know the value of it and I want to help create economic opportunity by others and help LinkedIn in that way, that's much deeper than the person who just said they like the free food. So finding those real reasons that you generally relate to the company and align with them are going to help you stand out a lot. So this is an interesting one. So someone says, is making connections with a recruiter really helpful? Is there a point in time in spending connection and then asking for a job position? So again, if you were just messaging a recruiter to say, can you help me with the job? I don't think that's the best way to go about it, because either there's a job opening that they'll just direct you to apply, or there's not, and they'll say, hey, you clearly didn't do your homework. There's no job opening. So if you find an opening, and on LinkedIn, often it ties the recruiter to it, definitely add them. And whenever you're adding someone, this is so important. Anybody, personalize the connection request. Having it personalized, saying anything is going to increase your chance of getting accepted, even if it's just, hey. But having one sentence, hey, super interested in Microsoft, can't wait to follow you and learn about your time there. Hey, I love sales, can't wait to connect. Whatever it is, showing that you even put 10 seconds of effort in. Effort is what matters. People will accept it. So customize it. If you applied for a job and they have people tied to it, definitely add the recruiter. Hey, just applied for the advertising role. Super excited to begin the process. Like, please let me know if you need anything else. Connection, smiley face. Like, cool. Now you stand out. Now they saw your name one more time. They saw your photo next to your name. Any little thing definitely helps. LinkedIn is hiring graduating seniors, but we hire a year in advance. So the 2020 class was hired last year, but they are hiring 2021 starting in the fall. Okay, so someone asked, if I apply for a job that's not directly relevant to my major, how can I change career without the experience? So I'll call it an advantage. The advantage is being a college student is you have a clean slate. People don't expect you to have a crazy amount of experience. Even if you did an internship all 4 years, that stacks up to 3 months of the summer. That's 1 year of work. That's not a ton when you're talking to people who are near retiring, going 50 years doing something. So you have a lot more agility than you might think. So this gives you the opportunity, again, if you're changing careers, go learn something, create content that's relevant, or take what you did do and spin it into how it makes sense in this new career. So again, maybe I'm using sales because I'm in sales. Maybe you want to go into nonprofits, and at UMass, or maybe you were doing, I don't know, finance internships or something. You can talk about it, be like, you know what, I did these internships, I did super well, but at the end of the summer, I realized that I wouldn't be happy doing this for 20 years because what makes me happy is helping people. And then later that summer, or in my town, when COVID happened, I actually started delivering meals to the elderly center, and that felt better. So I knew now that I wanted to take my skills of learning money and stuff, match it with my passion, and that's why I want to be the finance director of your nonprofit. So you know what I mean? You didn't have you didn't have that experience, but whatever it is, you take and pull those principles and explain how they actually relate on a deeper level to what you want to do. And being a student, you have that flexibility of not having spent 10 years in one industry and having to explain the shift. And you have that flexibility. You have the ability to kind of tell your own story and emerge into the job market in whichever direction you're hoping for. So don't sell yourself short. You have a lot more stories than you might think. And more importantly, too, is you can use personal experiences and stories. Make them appropriate. Don't make them sad or to ruin the mood. But Tiffany, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but I love when I'm thinking of interview questions, I try so hard to think of a personal example and a professional one, because what I love to do is a few questions into the interview. Let's say Tiffany is like, hey, Craig, name a time you failed. She's been having 10 conversations all day. She's been getting the same. She's on autopilot and she's trying her best to listen, but I don't know, at the end of the day, you can't remember everything. So I sometimes just go, oh, totally. Hey, do you want a professional example or a personal one? And that just kind of, it breaks the personal. What do you got? It makes you a little more curious. Say, well, this one time we were hiking and our camper broke down and we were 10 miles from whatever it is. And you display those attributes in a different setting. And when you tell a story and it's personal, it shows who you are. It shows how you navigate yourself in life, not just in your career. And it makes it fun. Maybe you have a funny story. I once told how I got stuck on Mount Vesuvius in Italy and had to hitchhike my way to the train station to get back to Florence. And that was like overcoming stress. Like that was a fun one to tell and definitely was more memorable. And so don't worry about like, oh man, they asked me about time I was entrepreneurial, but I'm not a business person. Doesn't matter. When were you creative to solve a problem? That's what they're really trying to figure out. So use it to your advantage, pivot it. And if a position calls for a number, this is the last one on my end. Thank you to everyone who's still here. If you have more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. If a position calls for a number of years experience, do numbers of internships count? Typically not. Something will say entry level or, things like that. They understand it. If it's asking for numbers of years, they are typically looking for full years, in my experience. However, I'm a little more big of a fan of kind of shooting your shot in life. If you look at a job and you say, I could do this, I'm confident I could do this, and I'd like to go for it, apply. I might add that most applicant tracking systems kind of automatically flag people. So if you don't have the experience, you might get a quick email back, but no worries. All right, no worries. You were there in the first place. Best case, maybe they go, all right, let's see what we got, and you build a case and get it. So I view it as no downside. Obviously, don't waste hours each day flinging resumes at stuff that you'll never get time for, because that's not really good use of your time or the recruiters. But if it's something that you see and it's a job you think you can do, apply for that job and go for it. And leverage how, hey, I know I don't have 3 years experience, but here's all this stuff I did on my own, and here's all this stuff, and here's what I have for you, and here's what I created. And if you believe you can do it, go for it. I've met with plenty of people who took their shot at companies and got hired on the spot because they were so outside the box and so impressive. So stay true to yourself, be creative, and shoot your shot. It can't hurt. Let's see.
I think
So,
in the chat, the last 3 questions are ones you haven't answered.
okay, cool. How important are referrals and what is the proper etiquette? Referrals are very helpful. I mean, let's be honest. It helps. A lot of companies will, in my experience, at least get you the first. So here's how referrals work in my experience is it won't make you a better candidate, but it will probably get you at least that first opportunity to demonstrate yourself. That is how I view them. So it's not going to make you prioritize. It's not going to make you look better, but you at least will more than likely get your chance to demonstrate what you got. And that's the valuable part, is getting that opportunity, getting that stage for 30 minutes to earn that next interview. So I'd say very important, but it's not going to make you better or make you score better. How to ask for them. Again, I would always recommend never just do it out of the blue if you don't know them. That's just rude. You're using them. No one likes to be used. people like to give and help, especially older people who may have kids and have that parental, mentoring enjoyment in life at this moment. But everyone likes to help, and alumni love pulling up people in their companies. Alumni love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Everyone loves it. So maybe start with that conversation. Hey, I'm really curious. Tell me all about it, and really be a genuine listener. And then maybe a week later, or whenever you do find a job at the company, message me. Hey, Craig, I just want to thank you again so much for talking about LinkedIn. Like, I haven't stopped thinking about what you said about X, Y, and Z, and I actually just applied for this role. I'm thinking about applying for this role, and I couldn't be more excited. Totally cool if you're not comfortable doing it, but I was just curious if you'd give me a referral. If not, no worries. Thank you again for that original call. Hey, if they don't, you're in the same spot. If you do, you asked in a nice way. You said no worries. You acknowledged it's a big ask, and you just said, hey, I'm excited. It can help. So just throwing it out there, being courteous and trying to give first would definitely be good.
And the guideline question, I believe, is the interview guide that LinkedIn put together, because they came in when you were talking about that.
Oh, got you. Let me, I will pull back up.
I believe you had a QR code.
Yep, I had a QR code here that will take you to it. Dun, 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 dun. Where are we?
And also, if you want to follow up and send me that link, people can reach out to me also.
Yes. So we'll do that
in the career hub, so I can get that forwarded to people if they want that.
Wonderful. So you can message me on LinkedIn. You can message Tiffany, and then I'll also put it up now here. So if you scan that QR code on the bottom left, for those who joined a little bit late, that is to an interview guide that I put together that walks you through everything from before the interview, mentality, how to go about it, what recruiters might be thinking. Some of this we talked about today, talking about what they're actually looking for, what these questions are actually looking for you to do, what they're giving you the chance to demonstrate how to do. I then talk about the way I help people formulate their answers that make them so much more memorable, so much more powerful, convey a lot more about who you are than just the answer. And then I list questions I always advise people to ask at the interview to really put a bow on it. I have some interview tips and tricks for phone interviews and virtual interviews. And I have a few more resources down there as well. So if you want it, we're giving it UMass people pretty much free, 75% off using, I think, Go UMass code. Check it out and give feedback. I love feedback. So those are the guide right there that we have offering. I think that's it for questions on my end. Again, thank you everyone, especially you hung in there. I know this was a while. Tiffany, thank you so much. I give you a virtual round of applause for helping me set this up.
Thank you.
Everyone on here, I know you're stressed. You're going to do good. This is, as bad as it is, a time to actually get ahead if you leverage it right. So please feel free to reach out to myself. That's my LinkedIn QR code on the right. Please feel free to explore the guide on the left. Reach out to her, reach out to me. Consider me a resource, and go UMass.